Hey there, comic friends. I'm Travis. It's time to talk some comics. Talking comics. These are comics of the week of November 6, 2024. Have quite a stack here in no particular order. Just my thoughts and giggles about the books that I read for this week. First up, we have Batgirl, issue number 1. This is the probably all in stuff from DC, one of the new number ones that I picked up. Let's talk title right off the bat. What do you think of that? I don't know that I'm totally digging. The bat thing is fine on top. I don't know. I don't know what I think of those letters. Not sure I'm keen on that weird calligraphy. I don't understand the points. Are those supposed to be like, I don't know, bat cape points, whatever. Like the cover as a whole. Like the cover. Curious. It almost looks like she has a pant leg there, which is interesting. But I like it otherwise, like colors and whatnot. Being a white cover. So this is the beginning of a new run on the book. Tate Bromball is the writer. Miyazawa is on art. Mike Spencer might be the colorist. Let me see if I can find the title page right off the bat. Yes, colors. That's the colorist is Mike Spencer. The cover is done by David Talasaki. I want to say. Yeah, so I am a Cassandra Cain fan. I really dig her. All her variations. She's back to being Batgirl now. In this, the story, she basically, Shiva, her mom, finds her and basically says, hey, look, there's some new deaf ninja called out to kill me. Except I don't think they're new to me. And they're gonna come for you too. So I'm here to help you, child. Let's get out of here. It is kind of the basis of it. I really like the way that it is written. I enjoy it quite a bit. Cassandra Cain for the longest time was basically just the side of mute. So she's not big on chit chat, and she's not in this either. It's largely written. She reads body language. She's an expert at reading body language. And so a lot of the book is in her head, assessing whether or not Shiva is lying to her or not, and the stuff around her. I really enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed the art. It served the purpose. It was fun. It was dynamic. We got some exciting fight scenes in here, which I would expect from a Batgirl book. It was a good number one. Sets us off on a potentially interesting path. She really doesn't want to team with her mom, but she ultimately is going to team with her mom. And at one of the last panels, it's Shiva, mom, kind of smirking about the fact that, she knows she's got her daughter, roped into this thing and whatnot. So I'm going to be around for at least the first arc. Check it out. See if I enjoy it. Like I said, I like the character. I'm curious to see if this character getting her own book, if that affects her in the Birds of Prey book or not. It'll be interesting to see. She's kind of one of the main cast in Birds of Prey. But Birds of Prey, I think, is ultimately going to be, with the exception of maybe Black Canary, and Shan, her daughter. I think it's largely going to be a potentially ever revolving cast of characters. So a decent first issue. I enjoyed it. And we're going to talk another first issue. Super excited for this. JSA number 1. Written by Jeff Lemire. Art by Diego Orlotegui. Yeah. And Guerrero doing colors on it. Super excited. Big GSA fan. I've loved the GSA for a very long time. Got some characters in here who are part of Infinity Inc. Huge Infinity Inc. fan. Infinity Inc. was one of the first books in the 80s, that big team book that I got to jump on at its creation and get to collect all the way along. And so it means a lot to me as far as that and as those characters and whatnot. I hold them dear for all those reasons. Plus, the fact I just think they're cool characters. Jade and Obsidian and the newer versions of Our Man and Dr. Midnight and the whole cast of characters that were basically going to replace our elder statesmen from Earth 2. So I was really looking forward to this quite a bit. And I was rather let down all the way around on it. To me, it felt like it's clearly one of those books that's taking off from the stuff that happened with the stuff with Darkseid and whatnot. We get this kind of brief. This is where we were. This is who they were. The whole World War II. And whatnot. Get people up to speed on the JSA if you didn't know what the JSA were and whatnot. And then we get some cool stuff going on. They fight some Cobra people. The team is split. Half of them want to hurry up and tackle the Cobra situation while they try and figure out what's happened to a lot of the senior members. And the rest of the want no, we shouldn't be doing anything until we figure out what's up with the senior members. We need to be more reserved and more like the senior members. And some of the younger people are like, no, screw that. We need to just get on stuff. That's not our style. We need to do it our way, kind of deal. So there's a conflict. Conflict is fine. That's how stories are written and told. And whatnot, but I didn't really care for the characterization for most of the characters here. We get some beefs between people, I don't know. I just didn't really care much for the characterization of most of the characters that were in it. Jade was, Obsidian is not himself, but that's excusable because the story explains why he is not himself, literally. But there's like 3 or 4 relationships going on in here, which is all fine. And then we get to the mystery men part of it, where we get the old school guys and some of their stuff. I don't know. I just was not. Nothing about it really gripped me. The art was fine, but nothing exciting there. The last page is cool. Because I love the villains that they introduced at the end of it, so I'm excited about that. But by and large, I didn't really care for much in the way of the portrayal of pretty much anybody in the book. So we'll see. I'm ordered up to like issue 3 probably at this point, so I will check those out and see. But wasn't terribly excited for this, and it's not just a matter of nostalgia. A lot of these characters have been written in things like Judd Wittick's his version of The Outsiders that he wrote. I wasn't reading at the time it was coming out, but I've read large chunks of it, and I like the characterization of the characters in that. So I don't think it's just nostalgia. They don't need to be written like Roy Thomas wrote them back in the 80s, because writing's a lot better now. But this was not super fun, which is a bummer because I was excited for it. Next up, we have Something Killing the Children. This is issue 0. And I actually thought I didn't order this, but man, am I glad I did. And if you are reading the Something's Killing the Children stuff, I believe this comic sold out. There's not going to be a reprint of it. I'm pretty sure. I saw the Boom Studio people saying the only way you'll be able to read it now is like if you get like not even like one of the trades. I think you have to get like one of the omnibuses or that sort of thing to actually get the story, which is a shame because this story was huge for the secret plot that is going on in it that I don't think we just barely in the other House of Slaughter stories we've barely scratched the surface of. Huge ramifications in this issue. So this issue takes place right before when we start reading issue 1 of Something's Killing the Children, and what Jessica is coming out the other end of and is finishing off some monsters. This is somebody interviewing the child that rides in this wagon, who's missing her limbs. Um, it is an interview with that child and them looking for Jessica, and we didn't know that. I mean, there's nothing in the story that told us that a larger entity was looking for Jessica. So really, really interesting. The implications of that for what might be coming next in the rest of the Something Killing Children storyline, I think is really, really interesting. I'm really intrigued by that. What the next arc might look like for us, because it goes beyond the crazy woman that's basically killing everybody to try and get to Jessica. It's really, really more interesting than that. It's the larger, grander thing. So really enjoyed this issue quite a bit. Some great characters in it, and I continue to this meandering of Something Killing Children. I am down for. I'm enjoying it. Whether they Della Aldra, the artist, really like their art, love the colors of the book. Just a good looking book. Enjoy it quite a bit. Saga, issue number 70. I'm going to talk about the cover for a second. This cover is bland as all get out. I don't know. Fiona Staples is very good at putting the minimum that she needs to put on the page for us to absorb what's going on. I think she's masterful at facial expressions and that sort of thing. She goes hog wild with the aliens, figures that are in the book and stuff. My understanding is that large chunks of the book, when it comes to some of the crazy, sometimes vulgar stuff that we see, it's Fiona Staples. That's all awesome, whatnot. But I don't know. This cover seems very, very, very simple, and doesn't deliver anything to me. I should have wore my Stray Bullets t-shirt. I should have wore my Prince 4, Squire's biological father. I should have worn that t-shirt so I could show you what a black with a TV-headed person on it looking like would be dynamic. Whereas I don't know. They didn't do anything for me, this cover whatsoever. Great issue though, issue 70. Lots of emotional pulls and tugs, and it's got some of my favorite characters briefly back in it. Displays just how messed up like Petra is in it and stuff. And man, Alana, best mom in the comic universe. She's struggling, but she's making some good decisions, or what seem to be some good decisions. Get Squire the help that Squire needs. There's a little bit of pushback from Hazel, but it looks like it's all going to be good. But we all know that when things seem like they're all going to be good, that just means that the pin has been pulled out of the grenade, and we're just waiting for the timer to go off, sort of a thing. And the last pages of this show us that pin being dropped. So yeah. Who we thought were the potential bad guys don't even seem to necessarily be the potential bad guys. It kind of had a little bit of red herring there. As who we thought might not be a positive thing for the family, and it's somebody else entirely. Still, it's a great book. I still really enjoy it. It has all kinds of smart emotional moments in it. And always happy to see it. I'm not sure. Just trying to remember. Read the back matter a while ago, so I'm trying to think. See you back here soon for our penultimate issue of the arc. So got a couple more issues, and then of course it'll probably take a massive break again. So we should in a month start seeing some of potentially the fallout of the phone call that gets made at the very end of the issue. So very much looking forward to that. As always, hard to go wrong with Saga. It's always a strong read. And when it seems like it's not a strong read, that's just setting you up for the stuff. And then you look back at that stuff that you thought wasn't strong. Go, oh, okay, it's excellent. Yeah. Okay, next up we have Plastic Man No More. This is issue 3. Cantwell writing, Lynn's on art. Edgar, I believe, is the colorist there. Love the cover. Love this cover. hugging, hugging the hydrogen bomb. Anyway, so we see things really start to slip out of control. Plastic Man has gone and tried to explain how all the metalmen were killed, except for Uranium. And it's all okay. He's going to help take care of Uranium. Most people just kind of ignore him, don't really care a whole lot. Don't seem too terribly concerned. He finally calls the Justice League on their crap, basically saying, look, you don't give a crap about me. I'm basically falling apart and dying here, and no one seems to register that means anything. And so there's some good moments there. A large portion of the story is a struggle not only to save himself, but supposedly to save his son. I still think he's selfish enough that it still has more to do with him, though we do get some haunting scenes of past Plastic Man and the choices he made and trying not to make those choices again. But in the process of that, he's acquired some people to help him, and we're at this tipping point now where things have kind of gotten out of Plastic Man's control, I think. Some of the extremes that he believes he would go to save himself, I don't know that he would have made those choices. He has some help, and that help potentially cost him possibly one of his few honest friends. I don't know, because it's a superhero comic book, but it possibly has, and I don't know that he necessarily wanted that. But he's getting to the point where he's so desperate and so falling apart that he's just moving forward because there's nothing else left to do at this point except to move forward. And moving forward is basically blowing him up and hoping that chemically binds him back together again because he's falling apart. Still, one of the things I really love. Oh, you know what? I think Edgar's the other artist. What's one of the things I love about this book is the swap in art between Jacob Eggers is the other artist. It's the swap in art between what we're getting for the main book, which is really good art, great paneling, some good beats and whatnot. But anytime he's dealing with that's a good one. Anytime he's dealing with the Justice League proper, it always drops into this much more cartoon styled art to be more like I always see it as being more like the Super Friends TV show sort of a thing. I mean, it's not, but it has that kind of a much softer bend to it and whatnot. And so always love that. It's a great using different styles of art to deliver a story. You instantly have a feeling of what's going on there versus what's going on in the rest of the guy's life and whatnot. Feel like there's one or two more issues left. I think it's probably 5 issues. So there's 2 issues. Completely engrossed with where the book is going to go. Very much enjoying it. Next up, we have issue 10 of Public Domain. This is the one the last issue had this huge bomb was let off basically on some infidelity and some issues amongst our crew, and this issue we get told that story, and that story's told really, really well. Interesting as to how people got to where they are, the choices that are made around them, and then the choices they choose to make. Chip can write a really good emotional story where everybody feels like they have that need to have value has value in it, and show rationales as to why people make some of the decisions that they make and whatnot. Just really, really good, really intriguing all the way along, how it all plays out. Love some of the final lines in it. One person's like, well, this all happened in the past. That's all in the past. It means nothing to me now. It's whatever. And the other person going, yeah, it happened to you in the past. It's happening to me right now. And how do I got to figure out how to deal with that because you put it all away. and it's brand new to me. Just really love that storytelling and that line delivery towards the end of the book. All really great stuff. And then you get the whole comic end of the book. This kind of, quasi Stan Lee Marvel versus Kirby story. It's not that, but it's those kinds of situations that we that have been reading lots of comics or whatever have heard these stories over the years about how people were treated and whatnot. And this is kind of, a possible fight back against the man. And right now, I don't know if they really realize they're going to do it, but our little people, the little people have struck first. Ultimately, this is the end of basically the equivalent of San Diego Comic-Con. The big money bag people think that they've come out on top and just basically wrecked everything for our little crew. But our little crew sneaking out a ash can version of all the characters before the actual comic comes out, because neither group has actually produced a full comic, has basically cemented them their established domain, and now the money bags are trying to figure out how are they going to fix that, how are they going to operate around that and whatnot. And potentially it looks like there's some potentially devastating messed up stuff could go on, since how our little crew is basically financed by a fan, and fans can be fickle. Fans aren't always really fans, right? So great stuff. Who knows how long it's going to be before, because this is the end of the arc. Who knows how long it'll be before we get the next arc? But definitely we'll be picking it up. Just a great story. Just a great story. Next up, we have Poison Ivy. This is issue 27. We get into the thick of this story of Poison Ivy being labeled an eco-terrorist, which she is. She admittedly is, but she's not the eco-terrorist that's causing problems right now. And she doesn't want to be blamed for somebody else's eco-terrorism. She do her own eco-terrorism. And she has kind of a squabble with Batman to kind of put him in his place, going, look, I didn't do this. And he's like, whatever. I'm arresting you. Better I arrest you than the Gotham cops arrest you. And she's like, look, when have I ever not admitted when I am doing some sort of terrorism? And he's like, yeah, okay, good point. And leaves her alone, gives her some time to try and figure this out for herself. So we're going to get in that story. Still really enjoying it. G. Will Wilson writes a great character, writes great stories. I'm enjoying Takara on art. Also, it's great. There's a fun story potentially going to happen with Janet from HR and Croc, Killer Croc. They're in like a ghost town that is cropped up on the edge of the Gotham swamps. So that may become its own story outside of what's going on with Poison Ivy itself. All good fun. Still, I read this after having read that one-shot Poison Ivy Swamp Thing that was written by G. Willow Wilson also, and I'm like, this is fun. This is nothing about this feels heavy or there's consequences, but and I'm enjoying the consequences, but they don't have the same kind of weight that other book had, and I really kind of wish that Poison Ivy was that other book. Not walking away from this. I'm still enjoying it. I like this new arc. We passed all the stuff from the original stuff that was going on with the book when the first book was originally just going to be like a mini series, and very much looking forward to whatever this stories are going to be and what we're going to explore. But I'll probably hear from me quite a bit for a while. Boy, there's that other stuff that I know G. Willow Wilson can put out, the stuff that's much more closer to the old, like Vertigo-ish kind of a story versus this much fresher-faced, all-in DC superhero story. Yeah. Next up, we have, talking of heavy stuff, we have The Sacrificers. This is issue number 12. Max Furama's back on art. Super excited by that. Love the guy's art. Rick Remender writing, of course, and Dave McCaig, who has been doing the colors of the book, regardless of which artist is on it, which is largely held the book together as far as it feeling consistent all the way through. Dive right into stuff. We get some more dealings with Pigeon's sister and our princess. She comes clean with who she is and how that might all play out. Pigeon's sister's still scared to death of her because of this black stuff that comes out of her. And of course, Pigeon we get to see Pigeon's full power here. He's wielding the princess's power. He's got fire lava. He's basically this giant flaming bird with an axe smashing stuff and whatnot. We see a large battle ensue and some consequences from his rage that he was not expecting, with an ending that who knows what's going to happen now. But really what excites me about this issue is what happens at the beginning of the book. We get introduced to another new character, and that new character is clearly attached to the black stuff that we've seen in The Princess. And it like all entities, has its own desires, its own interests, and they're potentially in conflict with everything that's going on here. And what does it mean? They're clearly seem to act like a godlike being, kind of like Swamp Thing is a godlike being amongst the other gods, but kind of operates under his own fashion. It's kind of what this character feels like to me. So I'm just really excited for that, to see what that's going to be and whatever. Still just a really good book. Has great emotion, beautiful art. Both artists that have been on the book have been amazing. But excited to see Max back on the book, and just really amped to see what's going on. This is the No Light Beyond arc. This is issue 1, so I know we're going to at least get 4 solid issues before we have another break, or we have a shift in artist again and whatnot. But still, just really good stuff. How does it get fixed? Does any of it get fixed? This is one of those books I'm really enjoying, and you can kind of see where some of the big moments are going to. But I don't immediately see the direction. I don't immediately have a sense of, this is what the book's about. Because lots of times books will kind of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, kind of beat you over the head of this is what it's about. Like the beginning of Napalm Lullaby, another Rick Remender book. It's clearly about this kind of out of control, cultish, heavenish kind of a thing versus the people that are left behind. This has some of that, and it's some of the left behind, but not, I don't know, not 100% on all of the story elements, and I'm enjoying that, just seeing where we're going to go with the book. Good stuff. Next up, we have Birds of Prey, issue number 15. So the book has changed tone a little bit. Now it's feeling more like a straightforward superhero book. The other stuff did too, but now that we have the permanent artist change with Basari on it and Lucas on colors, we don't have Jody Belair doing colors. They're not maintaining this kind of, the book was being colored in kind of a way to make it feel somewhat old-timey, or old, like you were reading an old comic from the 70s or 80s, sort of a thing. And they've abandoned that, or just decided they're not doing that anymore. So now the book just feels like, and maybe it's with the change with the all-in stuff and whatnot, now the book just feels like a standard superhero book, modern. The coloring is modern. It's not delivered as being as acting like some old comic that you pulled out of a box or found in a long box somewhere. Still definitely enjoying it. I dig the characters that are all in it. I'm always kind of excited for the Birds of Prey, as long as you're not making a mess out of it. And Kelly Thompson is definitely not making a mess out of it. The art is enjoyable in it. This issue, we're kind of dealing with some different Amazon stuff, kind of playing with some of the story that's been told in the Tom King's current run of Wonder Woman, where the Amazons are basically kind of either kicked out of the United States or imprisoned and whatnot. And so we have some imprisoned Amazons who are being imprisoned by rich people, kind of a thing, and they're doing who knows what with them. I'm sure we're going to find out. Get some great moments in this of Black Canary talking to her team, different people of her team, about different stuff as she tries to lead everybody along the way. Does a really good job of that. As far as a straightforward superhero book, Birds of Prey is pretty darn good, and I'm enjoying it, and looking forward to seeing what's going on in it. But like I said, the coloring has changed. Now it's just your straightforward, modern style coloring and whatnot. So that's a change, an artistic change in the book, and I'm sure somebody at some level decided that it was time to do that. But I liked it. I liked it before. It gave it a particular vibe. But also, the change isn't bad either. Now it's just going to be a cool superhero story with these great women teams where they have a rotating cast, a few solid people who are always on the team, and then we get this rotating cast of other people. Right now we got Grace Choi is one of the people that's in it. That's cool. She used to be an outsider back in some of the outsider days and whatnot, but I'm excited for it. Next up, we have Cruel Universe. This is issue 4, I want to say. Yes, issue 4 of Cruel Universe. There is a story in here that is so good. It's a Matt Kent story. It is Doomsday Particle. One of the things that really excites me about it is I'm reading the credits to make sure I get it straight. Allison Sampson is the artist on it, with colors by Jody Blair, and it is so good. It is such a great story. The art on it is just, it just screams like old school Vertigo, and I dig Vertigo. I dig the old school Vertigo stuff. Just really smart layouts, page layouts and whatnot. Some great coloring here. The story basically is these 3 scientists capture the real God particle. 3 particles broken off that were basically the start of the universe. And 2 of the guys each of them have the particle, and then we find out that the 3rd particle was captured this is all planned, a scientific experiment of some sort, by a woman who captures one up in space. They don't know what they're going to do with these particles and whatnot, but the guys basically go, okay, we're going to, tomorrow we're going to tell the world and have a big, basically, party to how genius that the 2 Johns are, and just kind of go, oh, sorry, Ramona, you're stuck up in space, see you in 2 months or whatever it is. Kind of a deal. So she doesn't get credit for anything, and it's all kind of the boys' club, and they deliver some terrible lines and treat her terribly and whatnot. And she's like, screw it, and she goes rogue and steals the God particle, her particle, steals it, and goes off to do her own experimenting with. Well, she's clearly not the bad guy in this, other than she stole the thing, but she stole it from a bunch of jackasses. The narration is basically labeling her as being rogue and unhinged and all this stuff, but we're seeing what's actually happening while we're getting this kind of overtelling of what's happening. There's a great dichotomy between the two story elements, and just make for a really good story. And the ending is really great too. But just really that story really leapt out. I'm kind of like, I don't know what else Allison Sampson is doing or has done. I'm interested. I hope this gets her to get work somewhere else. If not, because it was just some really, really good stuff, and really good storytelling by Matt also. The other stories, there were some other good stories in this one too, but this is definitely one that excited me, and that story excited me quite a bit. Next up, probably my favorite comic book of the week, FML. You can take FML for whatever you want to. The kids hashtag it, and you know what it is. It's great. Wraparound cover. Alone tells its own story after you've read it. You got our 4 kids off doing their own adventure. We've got Mom, and I believe that's the school teacher with the baseball bat there, clearly looking for something. They're out in the dark. She's got her cell phone as a light. Love basically every page and every moment of this book. Set in Portland, as I've said before. When I was talking about these books and they came in my haul, it's sat loosely in a current day Portland. Some stuff's been moved around. They actually physically give us a map here. The map doesn't match up exactly to my understanding of Portland. Not that I live in Portland. Visit there quite often. But it's but it's kind of here and now. It has a definite sense of here and now. The verbiage that's used, and that sort of stuff. You get this orange sky because if you live anywhere in the Northwest, we're choking on fires for a large portion of the summer now. So that is going on. Some people are mistaken. They see, because there's some comments about masks, wear your masks, and we see some people in masks. The only time they're wearing masks is when they're outdoors, and it's enforced by adults or parents. The masks are not, I do not believe, nowhere does it say anything about COVID, about the pandemic or anything like that. The masks are to help filter out all the crap that's in the air because our air quality is so crappy in the Northwest. With the fires going on. That's what the masks are about. It's not a harken back to the terrible plague years that we've just recently had, kind of a thing. There's a story about these four kids, these four high school kids, that, and how they deal with the world. And it's not just about them. It's about at least one mom who used to be a rocker and now isn't a rocker anymore. She's a mom. What does that mean? And we get to see potentially some of that in here, a little bit of that in here. We get to see, of course, kids navigating all the things that are high school. There's rock and roll in this. There's a band. Mom used to be in a band, if I didn't already say that. So a lot of stuff going on. Some friendship bonding here. Some new people getting into a group that exists. I love these kids. The art. So Kelly Sue DeConnick written, David Lopez on art, Chris Peter doing the colors, Clayton Cow on the lettering. And the art is fabulous because the art changes depending on what the story is and whatnot. It opens up basically with when one of our kids here, and he is imagining basically being a rock and roll god, rocking out, and then he's interrupted while he's rocking out, walking the dog by his mom. And when mom delivers her own internal lines that's kind of in conflict with whatever the kids are saying, we get this great black and white cartoons. Then it happens fairly often. And we also get, like, down here in this very bottom corner down here, we get introduced into mom. Mom, she used to be, this is what mom's name is. She used to be named Patty Cake, and she was in the rock and roll band, but now she's mom. And you see that other panel there over on the other side where it's just, more of a cartoon shaped, and she's holding a steering wheel because she's mom now. There's this whole conversation about, why, Riley, and my name is Riley, and why am I named Riley? Well, I asked my mom once and she says she doesn't remember. And then we get introduced to his sister. They're into true crime podcasts. That's an element that seems to be coming. We get introduced to the next character in the kid group, and her name is Savvy is what he calls her, but I kid you not, her real name is Savage Slaughter. And then he makes the comment, I bet you her parents remember why she was named that. Just some really great stuff. The art changes again too. We have our the kids in conflict with the other people in school. We get Riley's sketchbook, which has its own art style when he is the person that's sketching, which gets him in trouble. You're sitting in school in this day and age with the whole way people respond to violent art, gets him in some trouble. There's some great moments around that. We also, we get introduced to mom's strife, the teacher's strife, all really good moments in the book. There's another moment at the end, towards the middle end of this, we find out that how these guys kill time, how they deal with the world around them, is they go to a place that they call the Witch's Castle. It's like an old bathroom stalls on the side of a park. And they go there on the weekdays, and they show up and they have this game they do. Each of them brings some unique object. They whip it out, and then somebody else has to tell a story around it. And that's how they bond, and that's how they get through stuff and whatnot. And I just think it's great. It's a bunch of weirdos doing weirdo things, and I'm all down for it. I mentioned in Gromlins, which is kind of a throwback, remember when sort of thing, and I can remember and relate to tons of that. Can definitely relate to these kids, what they're doing. Definitely relate to mom and the stuff that she has to do within it. But we get this great storytelling, and at the end of in this storytelling, we get these different stories told, and each one of the stories we get art, and the art changes for every single one of those stories, and it's just amazing that David Lopez lands all this stuff so well. These different moments we get, maniacal Puritan tooth fairies, and we get rock and roll spells, and lots of cool stuff in it. And then there's a big huge thing at the end of this where clearly the book is not a normal book with normal kids doing normal things, because some consequences of some of the stuff they did the night before is flaring up quite predominantly at the end of the book. And at the very end of the book, we get some great back matter in it. Like I said, we get this map of Portland. We get a word search. We get some top 5 lists from each of the kids that are in the story. Yeah, and I just think it's pretty cool that we get a list of all those things and whatnot. We even get a list of moms, of Patty's stuff in there also, which is cool. And here they imply that FML means feline, feline Marxist lexicographers, which is amusing too. But just really smart book. Yeah, see, there's the other kind of art. Just I don't want to show too much or talk too much about it because I don't want to spoil it, because everybody should be going out and picking it up. You get to some people, it's not their jam. Totally get that. But for me, it's every page screamed yes. My brain was just going yes, yes, yes for every single page in the book. Just absolutely loved it. Super excited. I hope it goes on for forever, or for however long they need to tell the story that they want to tell. I hope it sells like gangbusters, so there's no issues there, and I get to enjoy a really good book. And finally, for this week, we have One for Sorrow, issue number 1. Jamie McKelvey of Wicked and Divine fame, artist, writing and drawing this book. Which I really thoroughly enjoyed. Really intriguing. The end of it has some awesome twists that just make you go, oh, yes, I'm in. We get a lot of different characters just throughout this book, all of them living their lives in kind of an Edwardian, late 1800s, early 1900s, I want to say, sort of a deal, Jack the Ripper-esque era of storytelling. We've got some mysticism in here. Because you've got this is the era of everybody goes to someone who is going to give a seance and talk to the spirits, so you can talk to your dead loved ones or your ancestors or that sort of thing. We got that element going on in it. We have clearly some business people doing shady business people type things. There's some gang, some kind of game mafia type activity going on in the book. Also, some characters that are dealing with that, trying to get themselves kind of in part of that. Potentially, it looks like we had this kind of plague doctor, vigilante-ish character that we're not quite sure exactly whether or not they're bulletproof or they're not really totally there, who are haunting some people who made some decisions, and we're not exactly 100% what those decisions are, but they are taking those people out that are or part of that decisions. And then, like I said, then we get to the end, and we get some exposure to the bigger picture that's going on, and it is quite good. Jamie is an excellent artist, delivers the right amount of everything that needs to go on. Backgrounds, you need backgrounds. You don't need backgrounds. It doesn't bother the backgrounds. Just makes lots of, in my opinion, smart decision. Uses these bigger pages in an effective way. Not just large art, but gives us more mileage in that page than what we get from a lot of other people who have larger pages or double page spreads or whatever. I think this is much more effective use of that stuff. And yeah, we just get lots and lots of good, rich stuff. And like I said, the end of this was super exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what we're going to get out of it. This is 3-issue title, so I expect big things in the next couple issues to really cement where all we're going and whatnot. But yeah, smart, good stuff. Really excited. It's been a great week of books. That's it. I'm done. Thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I will catch you next week, hopefully.